Welcome to part 9 of this course. Here, I'll show you the 3 real-life examples of landing pages, both good and bad. We'll look at a click-through page, lead capture page, and a sales page. Let's go.
First up, let's explore a click-through page. Now remember, the purpose of a click-through page is to get the visitor to click the link. So let's switch over to my browser and see some real examples of 3 click-through pages. Okay, here we are with the first click-through page that we'll be looking at. And for all of these pages, what I have here is a browser called Polypane. It's a new browser that I discovered that lets you display both the desktop page and then an approximation of what the page looks like on a mobile device, in this case an iPhone SE. And what's really cool about it is as you scroll, it tries to keep the 2 pages in sync. So this is very helpful for our purposes because we'll be able to see the same landing page in both this desktop version and then also the mobile version, because one thing that I want to make very clear throughout this entire section as we go through all of these pages is how important it is to have a mobile first mindset, because so much traffic these days is being driven to mobile pages. It's just becoming the predominant way that people engage with the web and engage with landing pages in general. So it's really important to make sure that you're optimizing for that mobile experience. And in some industries, in some categories, this is even more important than others. So what I recommend you do is, if you're already running traffic and you have Google Analytics installed, make sure you're looking at your Google Analytics stats and seeing what the breakdown is between mobile and desktop traffic. And you really want to try to optimize the experience for both of them, but you really want to focus on where most of the traffic is coming from. And in some cases, you may be very surprised at how much mobile traffic you're getting. So anyways, with that out of the way, here we are with the first click-through page. This one is from Unbounce, which I've mentioned several times throughout the course. This was actually a page that was shared earlier in the course as we were defining the different types of landing pages. So for this one, it's a very simple page. You can see here it says build custom landing pages fast and get more leads, sales, and signups. So a very direct headline that is focused on helping people get the end result that they want to achieve, which is ultimately to get more leads, sales, and signups. So that's the first thing I want to point out, just the use of this headline. They're not just stopping here where this is the sort of the way you do it. You build custom landing pages, but it's not the why. The why you do it is so you can get more leads, sales, and signups. So I think Unbounce did a really good job here of trying to get to that end result that we've been talking about throughout this course. So you really have to understand your target market and figure out what is it that they ultimately want to achieve and try to work that into your copy, or at least into a variant of your copy, because there's a lot of different things you can test in different headline styles. So this is a very much solution-focused headline. So then they have this call to action button here, see how it works. When you click on that, it just scrolls you down the page. You can see this nice use of trust indicators here, and then they have some simple text with some images of how the actual Unbounce builder works. And then this is really the main call to action, try the builder now. And so this is a click-through page because when we click on that, it takes us into the Unbounce builder, and this is really cool. You can jump right in without having to sign up for an account, and it'll actually walk you through the different features of the builder. And you can then, once we go through all these little widgets here, you can actually start working with the builder. So it's a great way to jump right into the tool. And so I thought this was a really unique way to utilize a click-through page, because a lot of times these types of demos or these types of experiences are gated behind a login screen or a sign-up screen or some type of registration screen, but here they're just letting you jump right in. So that's why this qualifies as a click-through page, because the main action is just to get the visitor to click through, to click that button and go to the next step without requesting them to register for anything or to buy anything. As we scroll down further, you can see they have a really nice use of color and white space. Look at all the space around this text here. So it really makes this text stand out. Some nice spacing here in different sizes for the different elements here to show the interconnectivity of the different integrations that Unbounce offers, and some really stunning images here. And then they have another call to action down at the bottom that is a little bit different. So, going back to the whole one call to action per page situation here, yes, it is a different call to action. This one, if you click through, it's actually going to take you to the pricing page. But in this case, I think it makes sense because ultimately what they're trying to do is to get you to give Unbounce a try. They're doing it in a few different ways, but this is the main call to action here because that's the one that's being linked to from this hero section as you scroll down. That's really what most people are probably going to engage with first because they want to try it before they see the pricing plans or before they sign up. So it looks great on mobile, as you can see when we look over here on the left. It's also an interactive page. They have these two sections here that when you click on them, the copy and the content actually changes for that section. So it's a nice use of dynamic content. So it's not just a purely static page. And also it's just the subtle elements here, like when you scroll you could see these elements are moving a little bit. Those little details can make a lot of difference for your page and just create a sense of professionalism and a sense of polish that is really important. So that's, I think, where we're going to leave it for this very first page. And let's hop over to the second page in the click-through category, and we'll take a look at that one right now. Okay, here we are with the second click-through page that we're going to look at. And just to remind you, we're going to look at 3 pages in each category. Some really good, some pretty good, and a few that are maybe not so good or maybe have some room for improvement. So this one is for a product called GraphoMap, and it's actually a really unique product. They make a map based on a location that you type in. So first impressions of the page, it's simple to understand. The name alone lets you know that it has something to do with maps. The headline's very direct, custom maps and posters. The subhead says the place you grew up, spent college years, or went on a trip. Remind yourself of that special place with one of our beautifully designed custom maps. So a bit wordy, but I think it does a good job of evoking certain emotions, maybe your college years or that trip that you want to reminisce about. So I think they did a good job of incorporating emotion into this copy. On the mobile version, I would say my first thought is it's a bit hard to read because of the contrast or the lack of contrast between the background and the white text in front of it. So I would maybe darken up that image behind here so that the text pops out a little more, because you want to you have to balance design with usability. We've talked about this numerous times in the course, but this really goes back to the clarity question. When people first visit the page, they need to make a very quick split-second decision of, am I in the right place? Can this help me? And it all ties back to that clarity question. And so when you have this type of contrast here where it's hard to read the text because the background's light and the text is light, that just makes it a little bit more difficult to get the clarity that you need. And that can create some friction as your cortisol levels rise as you try to figure out what this page is talking about or what it's offering. And then on a similar note, they have this video background here, and personally I'm not a fan of video backgrounds, especially in the hero section, because this is where you want people to get situated with the page, and you don't want too much coming at them, moving around, because that's going to distract them from getting that main concept. So if I was changing anything, it would probably be to remove this video background and go with a static background like they have on the mobile version. But this is a very common design style right now. So I think this is a good opportunity to really understand the difference between great design and conversion focused design. So something might look great, or a designer who doesn't really have a background in conversion optimization or hasn't taken this course, they might, look at this and say, hey, this is beautiful. We're using something that's very cutting edge and modern by having this background video here, but a conversion optimizer or a landing page optimizer is going to look at this and say, well, that might create some usability issues as people have difficulty reading what's in front of that moving video. So then the other thing that I really do like about this, though, is the simple call to action. Type in any location, create your poster, and we'll give it a test in just a minute. Another thing is they have this sliding section here. Again, not really a fan of the whole sliding type situation because it can create some confusion as people try to read it and it keeps scrolling. But you can see here they have some trust icons, very nice, simple, clean design. As you move further down, they have some images here. I'm curious what happens if we click on those. So it opens up in a light box and then you can submit a photo. And one thing to point out, this is their home page. And I know a lot of the pages we're going to be covering are actually home pages, but they have so many of the principles that we've been talking about in place that they, in this sense, they serve as good teaching tools for the different landing page elements that we're talking about. So, it's not a firm rule that you can't have a home page that has the same principles in it that we're going to be talking about. But in this case, because it's a home page, they do have a few more calls to action than what you would typically see on a dedicated landing page. Like if this was a dedicated page that was only trying to sell this product and nothing else, then you probably wouldn't want to have this submit a photo button, and you probably wouldn't want to have these social links because that's just going to distract someone from that main call to action. But in this case, I think it makes sense. So then they have some testimonials here, and what they decided to do is embed these Trustpilot testimonials, which have a lot of credibility because of the verification process that Trustpilot allows the reviewers to go through or requires them to go through. So it creates a lot of authenticity here because it's almost like the Amazon reviews. Like they're I know it's not impossible to sort of tamper with them, but it certainly adds more credibility when you see like an Amazon review or a Trustpilot review than if you just saw a review that's just text that someone literally could have made up. The thing you have to be careful with this, though, is with these Trustpilot reviews, there's a lot of them, and sometimes you'll see some that are like, not that good, and so you don't have as much control over filtering what shows up here because you're relying on this third party. So that's something to keep in mind. What I do like here is they're repeating the call to action down at the bottom. That's very, very important, and I love how they're really calling attention to it with this yellow background. Okay, let's click on one of these calls to action, and let's just type in a city. I'm going to put in my city, Boca Raton, here in sunny Florida, and it auto-populates, and it's a really fast loading site, which is great. They've certainly spent a lot of time optimizing it for speed. And so here you immediately get to see the product that you would be buying. You can customize it, which is great because it pulls people in and they get to start engaging with the product right away without having to enter any contact information or payment information or anything like that. So that's why this qualifies as a click-through page, because as you see, we just clicked, we put in a city, and here we are without having to sign up for anything. So I think this is a really good job because now you're sort of hooked. You can see the product, you've customized it, you've made it yours, and it's much easier now to just check out now that you've started that process. So that is Graphomap. I think they're doing a really good job, and it's a really cool product. So that's the second page we're looking at in the click-through category, and let's switch over to the third and final click-through page right now. Okay, we're back, and we couldn't talk about a click-through page without mentioning an app install page, because these are probably the most common use cases for a click-through landing page, because what you're trying to do is get someone to get the main concept of what your app does and the value it serves, and then ultimately you're getting them to click through to the App Store, whether it be the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store or both. Sometimes you'll see links for both. but that's really a very common use case for these types of click-through pages, because you're not trying to generate a lead, you're not trying to get someone to call, you're not trying to get them to buy something right away, you're just trying to get them to the App Store so that they download that app. So this is an app called Sift, and I've stumbled upon this when I was checking out one of the many landing page sites that have a whole bunch of different landing pages. I think this one I found on landingfolio.com or one of the others, but there's a whole bunch of sites out there that sort of collect landing pages that you can then review. And so, yeah, I saw this one in there. I had never heard of Sift before, but I thought it was a good example because I think there's some things that you can certainly do to improve it. So I'm including this one as not the ideal page. So I think there's a lot that can be improved here. It's a nice design, as you can see. It's a very clean design, has some subtle animations. It's nice, but the main thing that really stood out is this headline. Now, as someone who had no idea what this app was, when I saw this headline, Feel News Differently, to me, it just didn't make any sense. I didn't really understand the angle. I didn't understand what this was offering. And so this is one of those headlines where maybe for the team, it felt like they were being creative. It's something different. But this is what you have to be careful of, because being creative and being witty or being different, it creates confusion at times. And so you really have to look at this from the perspective of someone who's just landed on this page. They want to figure out, what is this page offering? What is it about? And that headline is supposed to help them do this. And in this case, Feel News Differently. It just, to me, I still don't really understand exactly what this app does. So the subhead says, Sift unpacks contentious issues to help reduce news anxiety. So news anxiety, it's almost like they're sort of inventing this this concept, because I had not heard of news anxiety before. So that's another thing you want to be aware of. Is this an issue that your audience is facing? Is it something that they are already aware of? And if not, you want to be careful that you're not sort of inventing this concept. But maybe this is an issue. Maybe I'm just not the right person for this page. But to me, it just felt like I wasn't sure exactly how this page would help solve news anxiety, because I wasn't sure exactly what it is. But you can see the call to action is simply to download the app. It looks like it's only available on the Apple App Store. And as you scroll down, they explain the problem. Our nation is divided and it's stressing us out. They link to a Pew Research study. Let's see if they link it in a easy to consume manner. Actually, it looks like this link is not even working for me. That might be this browser, or it might be the link itself. But, another thing, you just want to check every link on the page. Make sure that they are working properly before you go live. And then you scroll down. The other thing that really stood out is the usage of we. So you want to really focus in on what the person in your target audience wants to get out of the product or the service or the offer. What is it that you can do for them? There's a saying in marketing, whiff 'em, what's in it for me? That's what people are concerned about when they visit your landing page. And I know that sounds harsh, and it sounds like everyone is very selfish, but unfortunately, with so much information around us and so much to do, people have very short attention spans, and so you need to whiff them. You need to show them what's in it for me. And so this page sort of does the opposite. It talks all about Sift. It says how Sift can help. It says we shed the light. It says we help you engage. It says we make it easy. It says we use calming, accessible language. We make room for reflection. We deliberately choose. So whoever wrote this, I mean, not to criticize them, but I just think there's just way too much usage of the term we, because you really want to focus on the results that the target audience is going to get. And if you want to learn more about this whole concept, I encourage you to read Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. It's a book that I think I mentioned a few times in the course so far, and I'm going to mention it when I cover some of the resources. But he really talks about how you should position your brand as the guide, not as the hero of this journey. And in this case, it almost feels like this brand is trying to position themselves as the hero by saying we are this and we are that. But instead, they should just be guiding you, the visitor, through the journey. They shouldn't be the hero of that journey. You want to be the journey. You want to be the hero of that story, or whoever's visiting the page, they want to be the hero. So just keep that in mind and be very careful of your usage of the word we or us. So I think those are the two main takeaways here, is just the ambiguous title and then the usage of the term or the word we. And then just in general, I think there's some other elements here that are missing, like testimonials, trust icons, the basic stuff there. Other than that, it's a well-designed page. It looks pretty good on mobile, but I think it certainly could use some of those key elements that are going to answer some of those questions. For instance, how does this page answer the trust question? What is it here that helps you add any trust or any credibility? That's a hard question to answer. At least it was for me. And the same for the influence question. Where is there any type of social proof here? So I think that's all I have to say for SIFT. But again, not trying to knock it. I think it is a well-designed page, but there's certainly some improvements that can be made. In the next video, we'll look at some examples of lead capture pages. So I'll see you there.